Hi, so I'm dealing with a situation.
The frightening story.
University of Utah athlete Lauren McCluskey.
A concerned mother calls 911 and seeks help for her daughter, who was on the way to meet up with a potentially dangerous man.
Some help from my daughter.
A man who the daughter had been dating but eventually ended things with. The 911 call is just the first of many calls made about the matter. And the dramatic turn of events this story takes is one that will not only leave you at the edge of your seats, but would leave you both in tears and in a fit of rage. This is the tragic story of Lauren McCluskey and the series of events that led to the demise of such a promising soul. The amazing Lauren. A dynamic young woman with a passion for soaring to new heights, quite literally. When the University of Utah came knocking on her door, they weren't just recruiting a student, they were luring in a powerhouse to join their women's track and field team. Now, Lauren wasn't your average recruit. She wasn't just a mere athlete, she was a force to be reckoned with. Back in Washington, she had already clinched the title of state champion in high jump, leaving everyone else in the dust. But that wasn't enough for Lauren. Oh no, she had her eyes set on bigger dreams and grander stages. By every means, she was a fierce competitor, fueled by the fire of ambition, standing tall at the USATF Outdoor Junior Championships. She wasn't just another face in the crowd. She proudly claimed her spot, ranking a dazzling 10th in the heptathlon. The world was taking notice, and colleges from far and wide were vying for her talents. Now, Lauren could have chosen any path she wanted. Scholarships and offers were pouring in like a torrential rainstorm, each one promising a different destiny. But the University of Utah had a certain charm, a magnetic pull that drew her in. They didn't just want Lauren, they needed her to be the shining star of their track and field constellation. From whatever angle, Lauren McCluskey lived an amazing life with an even more amazing future, because aside from sports, she was also a very brilliant student and did well in school. In the everyday world of school, sports, and friendships, Lauren McCluskey wasn't just a standout athlete. She was the kind of person that left a lasting impression on everyone around her. Teachers, coaches, and teammates alike held her in high esteem, not just for her prowess in multiple sports, but for maintaining a top-notch GPA as well. She wasn't just an athlete, she was a star both on and off the field. Now, Lauren might have seemed a bit reserved at first, a quiet force making waves in the academic and athletic realms. But once you get to know her, you'd realize that there's so much more beneath the surface. Her mother affectionately notes that although she appeared somewhat introverted, Lauren was a treasure trove of thoughts and care for others. A true friend, she cared deeply about the people around her, and her friendships meant the world. But here's the twist. Beyond the textbooks and the track, Lauren had a whole other side to her.
I don't want to hurt you, but I need to breathe.
She was also an amazing karaoke enthusiast, belting out tunes and tearing up the dance floor with her closest pals. The girl who conquered heptathlons also conquered the stage with her karaoke skills, adding a rhythm to her life that went beyond the track lanes. Now, hold on to your seat, because there's more. In the heart of Salt Lake City, Lauren found solace and community at the Capitol Church. And there's where the plot thickens. She wasn't just content with her own spiritual journey. She extended the invitation to others. With a warm smile, she encouraged her friends to join her, lifting their spirits with songs of joy. But as fate would have it, Salt Lake City, with its vibrant scenes, held more than just uplifting moments for Lauren. The Meeting. In a popular downtown bar where laughter mingled with the music, she crossed paths with a man named Sean Fields. The two began talking, and he told Lauren that he was a bouncer at the Little Club. He was tall, dark-skinned, with an incredibly muscular build. And so, Lauren, who was into sports and fitness, was swept off her feet. She completely fell for him, and the two agreed to go on another date, another day. Little did Lauren know that this encounter would mark a turning point in her life. According to Sean Fields, he was 27 years of age and in a nearby community college. Although Lauren was only 21, she didn't mind the age gap and loved spending time with him. Time and time again, the two would meet up, and he would even spend several nights in her dorm room. But somehow, Lauren's friends weren't really settled on this whole thing. They were not comfortable with her new boyfriend, and they let her know.
She seemed very nervous around him.
Be calling every single time whenever we would be out, and she would say...
It got even worse when they found he was a bit controlling. When Lauren was out with her friends, Sean would call multiple times asking where she was and who she was with. He would ask when she'd be back, and he would keep timing her. But it got even worse when after a while her friends noticed that Lauren began to skip classes a lot more and even practice. She was nowhere to be found most times, and now they began to worry. The truth was, Lauren was now spending all of her time exclusively with her boyfriend Sean, and this simple fact made them even more uncomfortable. However, as fate would have it, one day Lauren stumbled upon something really disturbing, and it was the beginning of a rather long and terrible ordeal. It was his ID. Lauren stumbled upon Melvin's ID and made a rather shocking discovery. His ID listed his name as Melvin Sean Rowland. He had lied about his name, and now Lauren felt very worried. But that was not the only concerning thing the ID revealed. According to the ID, he was also a decade older than he claimed to be. Melvin was 38 years old. As soon as she discovered this, she told her friends, and they decided to do a background check on Melvin. What they found out was simply astounding. Apparently, Melvin was a convicted felon, a sexual offender. He had been convicted of enticing a minor, which was a second-degree felony, and also sexual abuse, a third-degree felony. Obviously, Lauren was taken aback by what she had discovered and couldn't believe she had been lied to all this while. Unknown to her, she was but a drop of water in the ocean of young women Melvin had lured into his trap. He had a history of befriending younger women and deceiving them with his charm and smooth talking. He used his calmness and charm to redirect ladies from who he truly was to who he wanted them to believe he is, and this time, Lauren had fallen for it. But to her, she was just deceived in isolation. However, her friends insisted that she break up with him, and she tried to. She called Melvin to meet up with her and confronted him about the lies and all she had found out. But again, Melvin was smooth and charming, and so he lied again. He told her it was a misunderstanding, and the minor he was convicted of getting mixed up with told him she was older than she really was. In the end, Melvin spent the night in her dorm room again, but even after that, Lauren still felt unsettled about this. And so, the very next day, she broke up with him. Ideally, this was supposed to be the end of the story, but sadly, this was just the beginning. After the breakup, Lauren still lends Melvin her car. He was supposed to return it the next day. The traumatizing aftermath.
She said, no.
No. And then I sort of hear her being dragged away and her phone fell.
The car was returned to Lauren peacefully, and all seemed well with the world. For the next 2 days, she was able to pick up her life again, go back to classes, and even resume practice. But soon after, this story took a deep, dark turn that turned into quite a saga. As if this was not messed up enough, Rowland starts making crazy demands, trying to extort $1,000 from her to stop him from sharing private pics, knowing full well she had no choice but to oblige. But even when she did, she was not going to let this slide. She spills the beans to her family and close buddies, but the situation's tricky. Rowland's this slick operator, making it hard for her to see the danger clearly. Her friends, though, could sense the tension building, like a storm about to hit. In a desperate move, she turns to Officer Miguel Duraz, the head of the Utah Campus Police Department, thinking he'd be her knight in shining armor. But guess what? The guy fails to investigate and even has the nerve to ask her for those explicit pics and use it for his own private and sickening purposes. Not only that, he showed the photo to his colleague and was quoted to say, "It's mine now. I can look at it whenever I want." Looking back, it's frustratingly obvious that so many chances were missed to stop the impending incident. And it gets even worse. Lauren, fearing for her safety, reaches out to Detective Kayla Dalov with the Department of Police Utah, dropping crucial information about Roland's offender status. But the email sits unread until after the unthinkable happens. She even tells her friend Shelby that the police don't believe her. But all this was because the campus police department had jurisdiction over the matter, and so no one else could do anything about it. Back and forth, Lauren kept calling officers after officers to have them take the investigation seriously and arrest Melvin, but nothing was done. None of the police authorities even did a small background check on Melvin, which would have revealed that he was on parole, and if the issue came to light, his parole officer would have seen that he was thrown back in jail for threatening and blackmailing Lauren. But sadly, this was not the case. However, the plot thickens. The tragic incident. On October 22, 2018, Lauren walked along the campus, having no inkling that her world was about to be shattered. The air was crisp, leaves rustling beneath her feet as she walked, and the campus seemed peaceful under the moonlit sky. Little did she know, danger lurked in the shadows. As she made her way to her dorm, subtle unease crept over her. The faint whisper of the wind carried a foreboding message that went unnoticed. Unbeknownst to Lauren, Melvin Roland stalked her steps with the worst intentions in his heart. Unknown to her, Melvin had borrowed one of his friend's cars and driven close to her dorm. He had sat by, waiting for her to approach so he could grab her. But at the time, Lauren was walking while on the phone with her parents. She was telling them about her day and all the assignments she had to get done, when from nowhere, her parents heard her scream and say,
She said, no, 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 no.
They called their daughter, but there was no response on the end of the line, even though the line was still connected. Without hesitation, Lauren's father had called 911, and soon dispatchers were sent to the location. But just then, a voice spoke on Lauren's phone. It was another student. She had found Lauren's phone and bag scattered across the floor, but Lauren was nowhere to be found. Concerned, distraught, and worried sick, her parents paced up and down hoping to hear something from the police. But little did they know it was too late. What had happened was Melvin had grabbed Lauren and thrown her into the back of her car. Then he pulled out his gun and shot her 7 times at point-blank range. Then he drove away, far from the location and to another date he had planned earlier that day. The date that he had planned would be his alibi. When the police arrived, they found Lauren's lifeless body in the back of her car, a terrible end to a promising life. By this time, though, Melvin was with his date across the city, laughing and having a good time. However, when he returned, he was spotted by the police, and knowing fully well he was already a fugitive, he ran for his life. And just like that, a foot chase ensued. Melvin ran a few kilometers and into a nearby church to seek refuge. The police knew he had a gun and he was backed up to a corner, so they proceeded with caution. Anything could go wrong. But just as they were about to enter the building, they heard a gunshot from inside and found that Melvin had shot himself. He was dead. The story draws to a tragic close, and Lauren's parents, angry and devastated, sued the school and police department for being negligent of their daughter's pleas. The officer in charge of the Utah College Police Department resigned and was fired from his next job. And altogether, the McCluskey family received $13.5 million in settlement, to which they used to set up a foundation to better secure the safety of students in the school. A new indoor track field was also built in the school and named after the victim, Lauren McCluskey. Sadly, as noble as these efforts were, they would never bring her back or place her in her once promising life.
At the end of it all, you're still my best friend. But there's something inside that I need to release.